This lecture covers Chapter 13 of the textbook, How to Work with Views. So we're still in week 4. The objectives of this are really to give you some practice and understanding of how to create views and some of the different options you can use when you're doing it. So some of the benefits provided by views: design independence. So the underlying database design can change, but all the queries using the view can stay the same. You just need to change the view. Data security. Views can limit access to data that specific users are allowed to see. Flexibility. Custom views can accommodate different needs. Simplified queries. Views can hide underlying complexity so users can retrieve data with simple select statements. And updatability. With certain restrictions, a view can be used to update, insert, and delete data from a base table. So let's take a look at the syntax for creating a view. This code, the Chapter 13 demo, is on the Canvas site. And I recommend that you run this create AP SQL before running the script. This will allow you to start with a clean version of the AP database. And again, the create AP SQL file is located on the Canvas site. So a view is a select statement that is stored as an object in the database. The create view statement creates the view, and the tables referenced in the select statement are called the base tables for the view. So in this query we're going to see vendors is the base table. And we're going to create a view called vendors min. And kind of a weird thing that you'll notice as you're creating views is that they require that you have a go statement before your create view statement. If you don't, you're going to get some error messages, and you're going to get these red squiggly lines. But just put a go statement in front of it, and you should be okay. So let's run this. Let's create the query, or create the view called vendors min. And now if I select all the records and columns from vendors min, I'm using it as this view just like another table. So anything you can do with the table, essentially, you can do with the view. A key thing to remember, though, is a view doesn't store any data. Since it refers back to the base tables, it is always returning current data. So we're going to do a query using the vendors min view that we just created, and we're going to select just the vendors that reside in California. So again, we're using the view just as we would use a table. Another benefit we mentioned is that you can restrict the columns that end users can see. So if we have a table in our examples file called investors, it's got investor information, name, address, city, state, zip code, phone number, but it also has financial information like investments and net gain. Well, what if we wanted to allow people to see who the investors were, but not to see the financial information? Well, we could create a view called Investors General. So create view Investors General as, and then you have the select statement, and you just include the fields, the columns that you want in the view. So once we've done that, well, hold on a second. Let me get rid of this Investors General view. Hold on. And we're back. And to get rid of a view, you use the drop view command. We're going to see more examples of that in just a little bit. But now I'm going to create this view that just contains the investor information, but does not contain any financial information for that investor. So now if we take a look at this, actually I already have this, we can take a look at that view and we can see that the access to the financial information is not there. So we're going to find out later in the course how you can grant permissions to end users just to use a view, not to see the underlying tables. And in that case, you can kind of restrict the access. Kind of a handy thing to do. So now we're going to, so we already know the syntax for creating a view. Here's a list of vendors, or we're going to create a view of vendors that have invoices. And we're actually going to use a subquery, which we know all about, to, just restrict it to the vendors that actually have invoices. So we have a list of vendors, and we're going to use that in our subquery. And now we can go ahead and create this view, vendor short list, only the vendors that have invoices. Now we can just use that view just as a table and just see the information that we put in the view. Very handy. You can create views using joins. So in this case, we're going to create a view. We're going to join the vendors table with the invoices table so that we get some useful information. So now we've joined the vendor name with the invoice information. You can use top and order by clauses. So here we're going to create a view called top vendors and just the 5% of the vendors. So remember, when you use the 5%, it's based on the order in your order by, in your sort order. So you want to use, if you want to actually the top, you're going to start with an order by descending clause at the end. This is actually pretty handy. We'll use this over and over again. This logic, if an object exists, then we're going to get rid of it before we create it. So and if it doesn't exist, then it doesn't do anything. This one is going to name, this view, when we create it, we create view outstanding invoices, and then we have parentheses and we name all the columns that we want to include. And so we're including the column names in our create view clause. So when we run the query against that view, we get all those columns. Alternatively, you can name the columns in your select statement. So we're not naming them here in our create view statement. Instead, we're waiting until our select statement. When you do that, you only have to name the columns that you want to. So we have a calculated expression here, invoice total minus payment total minus credit total. So we're going to name that, and we're just leaving the standard names, the field names up here. So you have some options. So, same result, just a couple different options. However, if you name the columns of a view in the create view clause, you have to name all the columns. But if you name them in the select clause, you can name just the columns you need to rename. So we're just going to create some more views. This logic, if the view exists, then delete it. If not, don't do anything. So we're going to create a view that summarizes the invoices by vendor. So, everything you've learned up till now in querying tables, you can essentially do the same thing with views. And one other option with the, or a couple of options with the create view is if you use the word schema binding, create view vendors do with schema binding, that means that if somebody tries to change the underlying or the base tables that are used in this view, and remember views are stored in a database, it won't allow it. It won't allow you to change the base tables that are used in views. So you probably wouldn't do this in just development stage. You probably would do it on production databases. The other thing that you can use is with encryption, but you're probably not going to use it. But if you did, it means that if somebody has access to the view, then they don't have access. They can't see what the underlying tables are. Kind of restrictive, actually. So here we're just using a schema binding logic. So you can see what the syntax is. Another thing that's interesting is you can create updatable views. And so you can do insert, updates, or delete statements on the view, and it'll modify the contents of the base table. If it's not updatable, it's called a read-only view. And as you would guess, there are more restrictions on the updatable views. But an obvious thing here, so if we're going to create an updatable view, the fields that we're pulling are invoice number, invoice date, invoice total, payment total, and credit total. None of these are calculated expressions, because then it wouldn't make sense to have those in the select statement if you're going to update them. But since we don't, this is an updatable view, we can actually change some of the values in the base tables. Let's see what else. Oh, if you want to change a view, you've got a couple of options. One, you can just drop the view and recreate it. You saw how easy the syntax is for recreating the view. The problem with that is once you've done that, then all the security that goes with that view is gone. So alternatively, you can alter the view, so here we create a view called Vendors Southwest for these states, and now we want to change that logic, so we're including more states, so we're altering the view. And so all the security logic that goes with that is maintained. So that's your option. If you want to maintain the security, then alter view is a better option. Catalog views are pretty cool. Here's just a short list of some of the catalog views you could use. And this lists all of, let's see, system catalog names all the system objects that define a database, including tables, views, columns, keys, and constraints. You can look online to see all of the different system views that are out there, but they're pretty handy, and we'll use them later on in the course or as the course continues. So here's a quick example. If we're going to want to find out what are all the schemas or which tables correspond to which schemas, we're going to look at the systables view, catalog view, and the syschemas catalog view, join them together on schema ID, and come up with a listing of all the schemas attached to all the tables. Kind of handy, and we'll see again as the quarter progresses how we can use these. But these are just automatically in the database, so gives you a lot of flexibility and a lot of insight into what's in the database. Finally, there is in the Management Studio, there's a view creator thing. We're not going to use that, but if you want to play around with it, you certainly can. So that's it for this chapter. We learned how to create and use views. Views can provide a powerful and flexible way to predefine the data that can be retrieved from a database. And you can restrict access to the data in the database. That's it.